The hospital's fluorescent lights flickered, casting cold shadows on the linoleum floor as Emma clutched Lily's hand, her heart pounding like a war drum. She'd never believed in God, but in that moment she prayed to anything that the woman she loved would survive the night. 3 hours ago, Lily had collapsed in their apartment, her breath shallow, her skin pale as death itself. Emma Harper, 28, sat rigid in the waiting room of St. Augustine's Medical Center in Seattle, her leather jacket creased from hours of gripping the armrests. Her short, dark hair stuck to her forehead, damp with sweat and fear. Across from her a clock ticked too loudly, each second a reminder of Lily's fading pulse. Lily Thompson, 30, the woman who'd taught Emma how to love without fear, was fighting for her life in the ICU. A congenital heart defect, the doctors said, one they hadn't caught until it was almost too late. Almost. That word clung to Emma like a lifeline. They'd met 2 years ago at a bookstore in Capitol Hill, where Lily's laughter had drawn Emma like a moth to a flame. Lily, with her long blonde hair and eyes that sparkled like summer lakes, was reading poetry aloud to a small crowd. Emma, guarded and cynical from a life of rejection, hadn't expected to fall so hard. But Lily's warmth, her fearless authenticity, broke through every wall Emma had built. They'd spent nights talking about dreams, fears, and the world they wanted to build together, a world where their love wasn't a battleground. Now that world felt like it was crumbling. Emma's phone buzzed, a text from Lily's sister, Mia. "Any updates?" Emma typed back a shaky "no news yet" and shoved the phone into her pocket. The waiting room was sterile, suffocating, filled with strangers who didn't know that Lily was her everything. She glanced at the nurse's station, where a doctor in a crisp white coat was speaking in hushed tones. Dr. Richard Callahan, his name tag read. He'd been the one to admit Lily, his face unreadable as he'd taken her vitals. Emma had caught the way his eyes lingered on their joined hands, a flicker of something disapproval, crossing his face before he masked it. "Miss Harper." A nurse's voice snapped Emma back to reality. She stood, her legs unsteady, hope and dread warring in her chest. "You can see her now, but only for a few minutes." Emma followed the nurse down a maze of corridors, the antiseptic smell burning her nose. When she reached Lily's room, her breath caught. Lily lay in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from her arms, her face pale but still so beautiful it hurt to look at her. Monitors beeped steadily, a fragile promise that she was still here. Emma sank into the chair beside her, taking Lily's hand, careful not to disturb the four. "Baby, I'm here," Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "You're gonna be okay. You have to be." Lily's eyelids fluttered, but she didn't wake. Emma pressed her forehead to Lily's hand, tears slipping down her cheeks. They'd planned a life together, adopting a dog, buying a house, maybe even kids someday. How could it all slip away so fast? The door creaked open and Dr. Callahan stepped in, his clipboard held like a shield. "Miss Harper," he said, his tone clipped. "We're stabilizing her for now, but her condition is critical. She needs a transplant. Her heart. It's failing faster than we anticipated." Emma's stomach dropped. "A transplant? How long does she have?" "We're putting her on the list, but it could be weeks, months. There's no guarantee." His eyes flicked to Lily, then back to Emma, and there it was again, that fleeting look of judgment. "We'll do what we can." Emma nodded, her throat tight. "Can I stay with her?" "Immediate family only for extended visits," he said, his voice flat. "Hospital policy." "She's my fiancée," Emma shot back, her voice sharp. "That's family." Callahan's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. "I'll see what I can do." He left without another word, the door clicking shut behind him. Emma's gut twisted. Something about Callahan felt off. She couldn't place it, but the way he'd looked at them, the way he'd hesitated, made her skin crawl. She brushed it off, telling herself it was just her fear talking. She leaned closer to Lily, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. "I'm not letting you go, Lil. Not ever." Hours bled into days. Emma barely left the hospital, surviving on coffee and vending machine snacks. Lily's condition stabilized slightly, but the transplant list was a cruel lottery. Every day, Emma watched other patients come and go, some with flowers and smiles, others with tears. She overheard whispers about Callahan, brilliant surgeon, devoutly religious, a stickler for rules. Rumors swirled that he'd once refused to treat a patient he deemed immoral, though no one could confirm it. Emma pushed the thought away. Lily needed him. He was her best shot. One night, as Emma dozed in the chair beside Lily's bed, a nurse slipped in, her expression soft but urgent. "Miss Harper, you should know. Dr. Callahan's been delaying Lily's case. I don't know why, but her paperwork for the transplant list hasn't been processed yet." Emma's blood ran cold. "What do you mean delaying?" The nurse glanced at the door, lowering her voice. "I shouldn't be telling you this, but I've seen him do this before. With patients he doesn't approve of. You need to push him, or Lily might not get on that list in time." Emma's heart thundered. She wanted to scream, to storm into Callahan's office and demand answers, but fear held her back. If she confronted him, would he retaliate? Would he let Lily die? She looked at Lily, so fragile, so alive despite everything, and made a silent vow. She'd fight for her, no matter what it took. Emma's hand shook as she stood outside Dr. Callahan's office, the nurse's words echoing in her mind like a death knell. Delaying Lily's paperwork. Not approving. The hallway was quiet, the hum of the hospital a distant drone as she steeled herself. She knocked, her fist trembling but resolute. "Come in," Callahan's voice called, calm and detached. Emma pushed the door open, finding him at his desk, surrounded by charts and a cross hanging on the wall. His eyes narrowed slightly as he saw her, but he gestured to a chair. "Miss Harper, what can I do for you?" Emma didn't sit. "Why hasn't Lily's transplant paperwork been filed?" Her voice was steady, but inside, she was a storm of rage and fear. Callahan leaned back, his expression unreadable. "There's a process, Miss Harper. These things take time. We're doing everything we can." "That's not what I heard." Emma's voice rose, sharp as a blade. "I heard you're stalling. Because of who we are. Because we're together." His face hardened, but he didn't deny it. "I treat all my patients equally," he said, his tone clipped. "Your accusations are baseless." "Then file the paperwork," Emma snapped. "Today. Or I'll go to the hospital board. I'll go to the press. I'll make sure everyone knows what you're doing." Callahan's eyes flashed with something, anger, maybe fear. "You're emotional. I understand. But threatening me won't help your friend." "She's my fiancée," Emma said, stepping closer, her voice low and fierce. "And if you let her die because of your beliefs, I swear I'll make you pay for it." The air crackled with tension. Callahan stood, towering over her, but Emma didn't flinch. Finally, he nodded curtly. "I'll ensure the paperwork is processed. But don't expect miracles." Emma left his office, her heart pounding. She didn't trust him, not for a second, but she'd bought Lily time. She returned to Lily's side, where Mia was now sitting, her eyes red from crying. "Did you talk to him?" Mia asked. "Yeah," Emma said, sinking into the chair. "He says he'll file it. But I'm not letting him out of my sight." Days passed, and Lily's condition worsened. The transplant list was active, but no matches came. Emma spent every moment she could with Lily, reading her favorite poems, playing soft music, anything to keep her tethered to life. One evening, Lily woke briefly, her voice weak but clear. If I don't make it, don't." Emma cut her off, tears burning her eyes. "You're gonna make it. We're gonna get through this." Lily smiled faintly, her hand squeezing Emma's. "I love you. Always will." Emma's heart broke and mended in the same breath. "I love you too, Lil. Always." The next morning, a new doctor, Dr. Patel, took over Lily's case. Callahan had been reassigned, Dr. Patel explained, due to scheduling conflicts. Emma didn't buy it, suspected her confrontation had forced the hospital's hand, but she didn't care. Dr. Patel was kind, thorough, and didn't flinch when Emma mentioned Lily was her fiancé. For the first time in weeks, Emma felt a flicker of hope. But hope was fragile. Lily's heart was failing faster now, her body too weak to keep fighting. Dr. Patel pulled Emma aside one evening, her face grave. "We've found a potential donor, but it's high risk. The heart's a match, but the surgery, it's not guaranteed to succeed." Emma's stomach churned. "What are the odds?" 50-50, Dr. Patel said honestly. "But without it, she won't last another week." Emma nodded, her throat tight. "Do it. Please." The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. Emma stayed up all night, holding Lily's hand, whispering memories of their life together, their first kiss under the Space Needle, the road trip to Oregon where they got caught in the rain, the quiet nights cooking dinner in their tiny apartment. She couldn't imagine a world without Lily, but that world was creeping closer. As they wheeled Lily into the operating room, Emma pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Come back to me," she whispered. Lily's eyes, heavy with sedation, met hers and she nodded weakly. The waiting room became Emma's prison again. Hours dragged by, each one heavier than the last. Mia joined her, then Lily's parents who'd flown in from Chicago. They didn't approve of Emma and Lily's relationship, but they loved their daughter, and that was enough for an uneasy truce. Emma didn't care about their judgment, she only cared about Lily. Finally, Dr. Patel emerged, her scrub stained with sweat. Emma shot to her feet, her heart in her throat. "Is she?" "The surgery was successful," Dr. Patel said, a tired smile breaking through. "The new heart is beating. She's stable, but she's not out of the woods yet." Emma collapsed into a chair, sobs racking her body. Relief flooded her, but it was tempered by fear. Lily was alive, but for how long? And what had Callahan's delay cost her? Lily survived the surgery, but the hospital room remained a battlefield. Emma watched the monitors obsessively, each beep a fragile thread tying Lily to life. The new heart was working, but Lily was weak, her body struggling to accept the transplant. Emma clung to every small victory, Lily's fingers twitching, her eyes fluttering open for a moment, the faint smile when she heard Emma's voice. Dr. Patel was a godsend, checking in regularly, her calm competence a stark contrast to Callahan's cold detachment. But Emma couldn't shake the memory of Callahan's delay. She'd hired a lawyer, Sarah, a friend from college who specialized in medical malpractice. Sarah was digging into Callahan's history, and what she found was chilling. "He's done this before," Sarah told Emma over coffee in the hospital cafeteria. "There's a pattern: patients he deems unworthy get pushed to the back of the line. Nothing provable, but enough to raise flags." Emma's blood boiled. "He almost killed her, Sarah. If I hadn't pushed him." "I know," Sarah said, her eyes fierce. "We're building a case. But we need evidence, records, witnesses, something concrete." Emma nodded, her resolve hardening. She'd make sure Callahan faced consequences, but first she needed Lily to wake up, to be okay. She returned to Lily's room, where Lily's parents were sitting vigil. Her mother, Diane, looked up, her face etched with worry. "She's strong," Diane said, her voice trembling. "She always has been." "Yeah," Emma said softly, meeting Diane's eyes. For the first time there was no judgment there, just shared fear and love for Lily. Days turned into weeks. Lily's recovery was slow, agonizingly so. She'd wake for brief moments, her voice raspy, her words slurred from medication. "Em, you're still here," she'd whisper, and Emma would kiss her hand, tears falling. "Always," Emma promised. "I'm not going anywhere." But the hospital wasn't a safe haven. Emma overheard nurses whispering about Callahan's return to the ward. He hadn't been fired, just reassigned temporarily. The thought of him near Lily made Emma's skin crawl. She confronted Dr. Patel, who assured her Callahan was off Lily's case permanently. Still, Emma stayed vigilant, sleeping in the chair beside Lily's bed, her eyes scanning every face that entered the room. One night, as Emma dozed, Lily's monitors began to wail. Emma jolted awake, her heart racing as nurses rushed in. Lily's body convulsed, her face contorted in pain. "She's rejecting the heart," a nurse shouted, and Emma's world tilted. Dr. Patel arrived, barking orders, and Emma was pushed to the corner, helpless as they worked to stabilize her. Hours later, Dr. Patel found Emma in the hallway, her face grim. "We've got her stable, but the rejection is serious. We're adjusting her meds, but it's touch and go." Emma's knees buckled and she slid down the wall, her face buried in her hands. "She can't die," she whispered. "She can't." Dr. Patel knelt beside her, her voice gentle but firm. "She's fighting, Emma. And so are we. But you need to prepare yourself. Just in case." Emma shook her head, refusing to hear it. She couldn't lose Lily, not after everything. She thought of Callahan, of his smug face, his refusal to act. If Lily died, it would be on him. She called Sarah that night, her voice shaking with rage. Find something. Anything. He can't get away with this. Sarah worked tirelessly, digging through hospital records, interviewing staff. She found a nurse who'd seen Callahan delay another patient's care years ago, a gay man who'd died waiting for treatment. The nurse was scared to come forward, but Sarah persuaded her to give a statement anonymously. It wasn't enough for a lawsuit yet, but it was a start. Meanwhile, Lily's condition teetered. Some days she seemed stronger, her eyes bright, her laughter weak but real. Others she could barely speak, her body racked with pain. Emma lived for the good moments, clinging to every smile, every touch. She brought Lily's favorite scarf, a soft blue one they bought on their Oregon trip, and draped it over the hospital bed. "So you remember home," Emma said, her voice thick. Lily reached for her hand, her grip weak. "You're my home, Em." Emma's heart swelled, but the fear never left. She started noticing small things, medication doses that seemed off, delays in test results. She didn't trust the hospital anymore, not with Callahan still lurking. She began keeping a notebook, documenting every detail of Lily's care, every name, every timestamp. If something went wrong, she'd have proof. One evening, as Emma was reading to Lily, Dr. Patel rushed in, her face pale. "We need to move her to the ICU. Her heart, it's failing again." Emma's world shattered. She followed as they wheeled Lily away, her mind racing. This couldn't be happening. Not again. The ICU was a sterile hell. All beeps and tubes and the suffocating weight of uncertainty. Emma stood by Lily's bed, her hand gripping the railing as if it could anchor her to the world. Lily's chest rose and fell, mechanical and fragile, her new heart struggling to keep her alive. Dr. Patel worked tirelessly, adjusting medications, ordering tests, but the truth hung heavy. Lily's body was rejecting the transplant, and time was running out. Emma hadn't slept in days, her eyes bloodshot, her body running on adrenaline and desperation. She'd stopped trusting anyone but Dr. Patel, her notebook now filled with meticulous notes on every dose, every procedure. Sarah called with updates on the case against Callahan, but it felt distant, irrelevant when Lily was slipping away. "We're close," Sarah said. Another nurse came forward. She saw Callahan tamper with records. Emma's heart clenched. "Tamper how?" "She's not sure," Sarah admitted. "But she's willing to testify. We're building something solid, Em. Hang in there." Emma hung up, her mind spinning. Tampering. The word gnawed at her. Had Callahan done something to Lily's care? She couldn't prove it, but the suspicion fueled her. She confronted Dr. Patel, her voice shaking. Could someone have messed with her meds? Her treatment? Dr. Patel frowned, her eyes searching Emma's. "It's possible, but we'd need evidence. I've checked her charts myself, everything seems in order now. But I'll keep an eye out." Emma nodded, but the doubt lingered. She stayed by Lily's side, whispering to her, telling stories of their Futuria cabin in the mountains, a garden full of lilies, a life where no one could hurt them. Lily didn't respond, her face pale, her breathing shallow. Emma's tears fell silently, staining the hospital sheets. One night as Emma dozed, a shadow moved in the room. She snapped awake, her heart racing, to find Callahan standing by Lily's bed, a syringe in his hand. "What the hell are you doing?" Emma shouted, lunging forward. Callahan froze, his face pale. "Tu was checking her for," he stammered, stepping back. "Get out," Emma screamed, her voice echoing in the quiet room. Nurses rushed in and Callahan fled, his coat flapping. Emma's hand shook as she checked Lily's for, her mind racing. Had he done something? She called Dr. Patel, who arrived within minutes, her face grim as she inspected the equipment. "Nothing's been tampered with," Dr. Patel said after a tense examination. "But I'm reporting this. He shouldn't be here." Emma's rage boiled over. She called Sarah, her voice shaking. "He was in her room, Sarah. With a syringe. I want him gone." Sarah worked fast, filing an emergency complaint with the hospital board. Callahan was suspended pending investigation, but it didn't ease Emma's fear. Lily's condition worsened, her body too weak to fight. Dr. Patel tried everything, new drugs, experimental treatments, but nothing worked. One evening she pulled Emma aside, her eyes heavy with sorrow. "Emma, I'm so sorry. We're out of options. It's time to say goodbye. Emma's world collapsed. She stumbled to Lily's bed, her vision blurred with tears. Lily's eyes were closed, her breathing faint. Emma climbed into the bed, careful not to disturb the tubes, and wrapped her arms around her. I love you, she whispered, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry I couldn't save you. Lily's eyes fluttered open, just for a moment. You did, she whispered, her voice barely audible. You loved me. Lily slipped away that night, her hand in Emma's, her heart still beating until the end. Emma sat there, numb as the monitors flatlined. The world felt empty, silent, wrong. She didn't cry, she couldn't. Not yet. The days that followed were a blur. Lily's parents planned the funeral, and Emma helped, moving through the motions like a ghost. At the service she stood apart, unable to face the pitying looks. But Mia found her, pulling her into a hug. She loved you so much, Mia whispered. You were her world. Emma nodded, her throat tight. She didn't trust herself to speak. After the funeral, she returned to their apartment, where Lily's scarf still lay on the couch, her books stacked on the table. Every corner held a memory, a wound that wouldn't heal. Sarah called a week later. We've got him, Em. The nurse's testimonies, the records, it's enough for a lawsuit. He's done. Emma felt no satisfaction, only emptiness. It won't bring her back, she said, her voice hollow. I know, Sarah said softly, but it'll stop him from hurting anyone else. Emma hung up, staring at Lily's scarf. She didn't know how to live without her, but she knew one thing. She'd fight for justice for Lily, for every person Callahan had wronged. It was all she had left. Months after Lily's death, Emma was a shadow of herself, haunted by the hospital's sterile walls and the echo of Lily's last words. She'd thrown herself into the lawsuit against Callahan, channeling her grief into a fight for justice. Sarah had built an airtight case, nurse's testimonies, tampered records, and a paper trail of Callahan's delays. The hospital settled out of court, and Callahan lost his license, but it wasn't enough. Nothing would ever be enough. Emma's health began to falter. The stress, the sleepless nights, the endless grief, it took a toll. She started feeling chest pains, dizzy spells, symptoms she couldn't ignore. At Sarah's urging, she saw a doctor, expecting a lecture about stress. Instead, she got a diagnosis, a rare heart condition eerily similar to Lily's. The irony was cruel, a cosmic joke that made Emma laugh bitterly. She needed a transplant, and soon. The wait was agonizing, but Emma didn't have the energy to fight the way she had for Lily. She went through the motions, tests, appointments, medications, while Lily's absence gnawed at her. She kept Lily's scarf on her nightstand, a talisman against despair. One night, drunk on cheap wine, she whispered to it, "Why didn't you take me instead?" Then a miracle. A heart became available, a perfect match. Emma was prepped for surgery, her mind foggy with fear and resignation. She didn't expect to wake up, didn't know if she wanted to. But when she did, the world felt different. Her chest ached, but it was a living ache, a steady rhythm that felt familiar. Dr. Patel visited her, her face soft with something like awe. "Emma, the heart. It's Lily's." Emma's breath caught. "What?" "The donor heart," Dr. Patel said, her voice gentle. "It was Lily's. She was an organ donor. We didn't know until after the surgery, but the records match." Emma's mind reeled. Lily's heart was beating in her chest, keeping her alive. She touched her chest, feeling the steady thump, and tears streamed down her face. It was impossible, unbearable, beautiful. Lily was still with her, in the most literal way. Recovery was slow, but Emma felt a new purpose. She started speaking out, sharing her and Lily's story at rallies, hospitals, anywhere people would listen. She founded a foundation in Lily's name, advocating for equitable healthcare, for patients who'd been dismissed or ignored. Every beat of her heart, Lily's heart, pushed her forward. One evening, Emma stood in the park where she and Lily had shared their first date. The air cool, the sky painted with dusk. She wore Lily's scarf, her fingers tracing the soft fabric. "I'm living for both of us now," she whispered, her voice steady. "I hope you're proud." The wind stirred, carrying the faint scent of lilies, and Emma smiled through her tears. Lily's heart beat strong in her chest, a reminder that love could endure even the worst tragedies. She'd carry Lily forever, fighting for a world where no one else would suffer for who they loved. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.